Hello and welcome to the dungeons. Dayman here. Today we're going to be talking about the best and worst matchups of our mythical weapons. Today's focus will be our axe, but don't click away, because the developers were able to chime in and informed us of a very secret tech for damage calculation on this weapon. Perhaps rising it in its ranks, at least in my heart. So, what did I learn about this mythical axe? Well, that is that it can deal more damage than it initially states onto its stats. But how? How do you get more damage out of this beautiful axe? Well, I'll tell you. The developer managed to clarify that when the weapon sticks into an enemy, that it can deal a significant portion more damage, but that is not reliant on the Pierce Exo, which you've been following my content. We've had a few discussions about. So, why and how? We have confirmation that yes, it is more damage, but now remember, we're entering into a little bit of speculation here, so take your grains of salt and sprinkle them where you would like. What I have learned through extensive playtesting with that feature in mind is that perhaps it is the additional bladed edges of the weapon that are making collision with a target once it's stuck in, and perhaps it's just the initial stabbing itself that deals more damage. However, how do you get consistency with this? Well, I've been experimenting with a few different enemy types, and we will demonstrate what I can in today's video. However, do note that the mythical axe's buzzsaw ability does not seem to be affected by that additional damage. But if you let me know in the comments if you see the health ticking down on our bosses. Speaking of our bosses, we're going to look at our encounter design. Our encounter design is first going to demonstrate our best matchups, and then we'll go into our worst matchups. For our best matchups, I find that the skeletal warriors allow us to access a very cool feature with our weapon. Another great matchup for the axe is the zomboys. Zomboys can be brained nice and easy, and there's ways that we can actually get that more consistent with our weapon. The only two bosses that I have found to be consistently good with the axe as a matchup are the Doomers and the Octoluses. Know that the skeletal boss doesn't do poorly against the mythical axe. However, its collision with its armor and sword make it a less consistent pick. So it is neither a bad nor good matchup. We will discuss what is bad up next. So I'll throw us into third person, and we will get active. Okay, now, we're going to load up our skeletal warriors. To make the most out of your mythical axe, what you have to do is be sure that your enemies are well grouped up. Once they are grouped up, you can start to take advantage of some of the best features present on the axe. Okay? Those being explosions, being able to be procced with being thrown. There is a discussion on the Discord right now about the buggy nature of explosions and area damage. And because there is a bug involving area damage right now, it might just be that explosions are proccable at melee as well. So stay tuned until we have the most accurate information we can provide. So, if you are using explosions with your axe, and you have an enemy fall to the floor, you can pull them to you, as you just saw, and it's like a get over here attack. And that is just so sick. Mind you, the explosions causing them to fall to the floor is what is necessary, and you have to be within an adequate range for weapon recall to get them to fly towards you. Now what you're also seeing here, get over here. And what I love about this is that while they're there, you can take advantage of additional melee attacks while they are standing up. So very cool, and that is how you activate that hidden feature. The next thing is you've probably seen it once or twice already, that the weapon can glance off of targets, which is not as satisfying as one would hope for a mythical weapon. Oh, my weapon switched. Stagger, get over there. Okay, so get that charge period, throw it into a group, and you'll see that sometimes surrounding enemies will take hits against that target. Not even just the initial... I should have pulled him over here. So, how do we get that additional stab damage as discussed by the devs? It requires the weapon to stick into an enemy, and that is far more easy to access when you are working with fleshy enemies. So a fleshy enemy is what is going to be the best target to stick a weapon against. That's the first time I died against simple waves like that, but it goes to show talking is not the best tactic unless you are communicating in the dungeon. Okay, so excellent against the skeletal warriors, because they are so light that pole attack can allow you to grapple them. However, the zombies, even though being a great matchup, are not as consistently pulled toward your weapon, so mind that as we move forward. Alrighty. Again, remember, I am not here to win fights, I am here to prove and display features of weapons. So don't look at my losses as, oh, that's not how it works, or Dayman's bad at this game. I would like to say that I am an above average player, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't matter how good you are at a game if you enjoy it. Okay. I do derive my enjoyment from being good, though. Alright, so we don't need zombies to be clumped up for this, although that is how you get the most advantage of your axe. Now, braining a zombie, striking him in the head, will deal additional damage to them. And if you want to get those consistent headshots, doing an overhanded throw will get you there a little better. However, you can still do it with underhanded throw, but the underhanded throw, especially from the unsheathing attack, can be one that strikes against their bodies at times. So the weapon will auto-target a weapon's hitbox, and for the zombie, that is the head. So mind that. Though when it's charged, I do find that lower attack hits not as well towards the hitbox of the head. Now, why is the zombie a great pick against this weapon? Because, well, explosions did it there, but buzzsawing into an enemy's head will allow you to get more damage off on those headshots. And that's another reason why we are going to be working against a Doomer for this experiment, because the Doomer's greatest advantage as a boss is that it is a massive health bar, right? And how do we deal with massive hit bar other than a bunch of hits? So we just saw right there that the Doomer can actually punch your weapon away. So if you want to get the most out of your axe, be sure that you are not throwing it while it is attacking. I hate these lost souls, man. Okay, they are my least favorite enemy type, and they are this most common spawn. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try and use an upper attack into the Doomer's head. Get away from me, you flaming skull bastard! Okay. We'll lure him back down here, and if you want to get a massive advantage against a Doomer, what you are going to do is lure them beneath you, take an elevated position, and that will allow you to strike against their head with that charge period. Make sure they're facing you, and it will auto-target their belly. That is why we are hoping to get that attack. Now, you see those additional hits are actually targeting the head. Right? As we know, headshots will stagger a Doomer. This is far easier to achieve with a weapon like a bow. However, if you can get away from you, flaming skull! That's why I brought potions in here. really can't stand those enemies. That whooshing sound gives me PTSD, man. Okay. So, take elevated terrain and use that as an opportunity to strike against the Doomer's head for additional staggering effect. While he's staggering, he becomes slightly more vulnerable to your targets. I wish his freaking flesh blobs were less accurate. I mean, granted, yeah, it needs to be harder, but... Okay. By the way, this is my 7th time recording this video on account of the fact that I was having some data corruption issues. So, forgive the attitude. Okay. Now, as we get into this fight, you're going to see that, yeah, the additional chipping damage is maybe insignificant, but is something that is quite useful. Yeah, hold your mouth, sucker. Busting out your teeth. So, we're going to now start to experiment with that feature stated by the developer, that a weapon that sticks into an enemy does more damage. It looks like we got 2 hits off of there, and that might have been the arm hitting into the additional blade on it. I'm trying to watch that health pool and determine when we are sticking to see if we're actually getting more damage or not. And again, mind you, I do have explosions, so if you see a fiery proccing ability, that means that we are dealing an explosion damage. It is not the effect of the sticking effect. Get away from me, dog. Okay. In order to get a more consistency with that attack sticking into a Doomer, I try to throw it in toward its armpit or hip. By doing so, wake up, buddy. By doing so, we can start to see its arm grinding against the blade or its leg grinding against the blade. These are the only means by which I have found that additional hit with the blade to take effect. Ooh, yeah, while he was running, you saw that. There was multiple hit indicators, and it looks like if it bounces off his belly, we can do some pretty good damage. And his armpit is one of the ideal places to get it stuck, to get that additional hit off. Remember, it has to stick, not just make contact. Ooh, yeah! That was like 3 hits. Maybe those developers are onto something. So you can turn almost any weapon into a mythical axe, or any axe into a mythical axe if you get used to getting that sticking effect going. Poor auto-targeting. And get that nasty little butt of yours. So, once again, I try to aim. Yeah, there it is. So you saw that? You throw it in the armpit, you can get multiple hits off of your weapon. So, pay attention to our timestamps. They will be what will help you get to the most accurate information. Yeah, that damage was quite minimal. However, yeah, it looked like that sticking effect dealt more damage indeed. So aim towards that armpit, if you can. Alrighty. Get him in the groin. Yeah, groin and armpit are the places that you're going to get that sticking effect. Now, we want to demonstrate whether or not the buzzsaw is affected by quad. Fortunately, I did that while he was partially obscured by his hitbox, and that is not going to do us any good for data. Get up here, buddy. Just a little butt up here. Let's go ahead and see your hitbox, man. No one cares how tired you are. Increase your VO2 max like a real man. Okay. So, without quad and another glancing attack. So those were actually headshots. So again, is also a corrupted piece of data. We don't want to be getting headshots for this, although it is my habit with Doomers. Also, while they're keeled over like that, by the way, when they're keeled over after their run, is another great place to get headshots and get that staggering effect, even though they're already out of it. So here we go. Boom. Wow. So almost insignificant. Okay. Yeah, it did barely any significant chip. We can barely even see it happening. Well, we lost the... Hey, maybe that quad indicator was in a sense that it did in fact deal more damage. Okay, and it wants us to kill these flame skulls before it allows us to move on. I love that auto-targeting spear. You've heard me say it 1,000 times, and if I don't say it 1,000 more, I don't know who I am. Certainly not Dayman. Okay, you see me, but I don't see you, fool. I seriously hate these flame skulls, man. I guess, lost souls. Get out of here. Okay, so why is the Octolus a good boss to fight against with the axe? That is for a similar reason to the Doomer, and that is you can take advantage of those multi-headshots. Those eyes that float around its head are effectively weak points, like a headshot on a zombie, or practically any other creature. And if you can get elevation on it, again, I'll try to lure it down here. You're gonna gobble me up, that's okay. While it's buzzsawing, it can have a slightly larger radius, allowing you to get additional hits against those floating eyes. And the fact that it is a floating enemy grants you the advantage of being able to hit it at range. We got to see a little bit of that eyeballing effect there. However, it's really based off of aim, and any sort of teleporting enemy, even though it's kind of a disadvantage to the weapon, teleporting enemies are good to fight with recallable weapons like a dagger or axe. As well, javelins have not the best recall speed. Okay. So we talked about briefly what the reasons you would fight an Octolus are, so I will go ahead and end the encounter, let it kill me the best of its ability, but it's going to keep running off because it keeps devouring me. Yes, bally eyes, get me, get me. Flamey flames, get me, get me. There we go. So I just wanted to discuss the elements that make it good against the Octolus, but it is not the pertinent element we want to discuss. So, our bad matchups. What are the bad matchups for the Mythical Axe? Practically everything. I'm kidding. But what I do find is its auto-targeting is finicky, which makes it less than ideal than you would find with a regular axe. Skeletal boss, as mentioned, it can be deflected, but the absolute worst boss you can encounter is going to be an ubermage. But what you might not have suspected is that a terrible matchup for the axe are swarms. What? You would think that every single mythical weapon would be able to handle little crittery swarms like nothing, but that is not true. Because they are on the floor, the axe can typically collide with the floor, sometimes disrupting, and slimes will explode when you hit them, and when they explode, then it will count as a disruption to your charged ability. See, it's recalled to me, and I lost my charge. Now, that could have been the fact that it was timed out, but I've done this video 6 times, and every time I kill a slime with a freshly charged weapon, it no longer has its charged ability active. Okay, so the ubermage. Why is this a bad matchup? I just said that teleporting enemies are decent because if they teleport, you can recall your weapon. However, you would expect to be able to stagger a ubermage with that staggering ability. However, the moment it takes damage, it will teleport away, making it so you do not get to activate that ability as often as you'd like. You hit the ubermage and it teleports away. Though all humanoid enemies can typically stagger from the axe, the other reason that the ubermage is a terrible matchup is that the axe is a single target weapon. Okay? And the ubermage summons a barrier, and that barrier entirely invalidates this axe more so than any other weapon. There are other mythical weapons whose charged abilities can bypass that shield. Now, a note on the spear is that its projectiles are a little too small to make it through unless he's right up on the barrier. But the other weapons, there are other mythicals that can get through that barrier, but never the axe. So, mind that, and remember to disinfect your face mask and wash your face, baby. Peace.